the second part of this new service coming from the Bearded Man, podcast and consulting, huge. I'm super excited about this as well. When I started in 2016, podcasting was big, but it was not what it is today. I feel like everybody is starting a podcast now, and I feel like I know a friend, I knows a friend. Everybody knows somebody that is starting a podcast. 2019 is about to be a massive wave of it. I can feel it, and it fires me up because there's just so much room for people to literally eat, to make a podcast and get an audience, that I love seeing people start their own. And so kind of touching on similar things that I was talking about earlier, it's like I've spent 2 years really in the trenches figuring out content, figuring out podcasting, figuring out how to make this an experience for the audience and how to really, get guests on the show. And I've just gotten much better at understanding the process of it. And so I want to be that go-to person that people can call, text, email, and help. I want to help people bring that podcast idea to life. This can be a brand that's now looking to start a podcast. I think that's a huge market that maybe brands haven't realized yet, is giving value to the audience they're already trying to tap into through a podcast, which then builds that relationship, which you gain their trust of that audience, which then maybe they're going to be willing to hand you money. I can't say exactly that if you start a podcast tomorrow for your brand, everybody's going to be listening, then they're going to want to go buy your product. I'm not saying that, but the brand awareness is going to help you get your name out there more. And there's just so much more opportunity. If you're a brand that sells, I'm going to use Movement just because I'm very familiar with their product. If I was Movement, Jake Kassan, anybody, Blake Pinsker, anybody that listens from Movement, this is what I would do. If I was Movement Watches, that's my focus, watches. Well, I would create a podcast that's maybe talking to the influencers that they work with, tapping into how the product has helped them, but more so just like travel and what they're focusing on as a brand, and just like pushing people to kind of live their life and maybe interview the influencers that they're working with and build on brand of Movement. It wouldn't be like the Movement podcast. Maybe it's like, I don't know. It would just be like traveling the globe with Movement, or keeping track of time as you travel with Movement, or something like that. But what I'm trying to say is, you don't have to be starting a podcast to monetize, to make money. It's more about just creating value for other people to pull them into your brand or to your message. Even if you're a social media influencer, or you're trying to get into trying to build your own brand, personal brand is what I was trying to say. So, you might be somebody that has a podcast idea, right? I'm going to tell you right now, all the answers that you need to know how to start a podcast are on Google. It's a simple fact. Everything you need to know is on Google. But with hiring me, with bringing me into your circle, onto your team, there's an advantage. Once again, I've done over 100 plus episodes, group episodes, solo podcasts. I know how to create an experience. I know how to execute this. And so I want to help those who are ready to invest and to really try to get this process going. I want to be that guy that you can call the Bearded Man and help you get this podcast up and running as fast as possible. That's going to be running through a couple different things. We're going through, I can help you out with, picking out the right equipment, distribution, how to get it out there on every platform, strategizing your content, making meaningful content. You don't want this to just be like some Joe Schmo, nothing, like no value. You want to create content that actually has meaning and impact. That could be creating and developing the podcast name, kind of what I was talking about earlier. If you're a brand, maybe you don't want to just start the Movement podcast, but maybe you want to start like Traveling the World podcast presented by Movement. There's different ways you can go about it. Developing an eye-catching cover art. You want people to get fired up to click into your podcast. I'm here to help you with that. Arranging a studio space, creating an aesthetic that it feels great. It feels you're excited when you walk in and you're ready to, fire up the podcast. I'm here to help you design that. And also just like trying to build an engagement or build an audience, building your audience and have an engagement with them where they are excited when they can communicate with you, and trying to incorporate the listeners and trying to build a strong relationship with them, as well as the guests that you're bringing in, preparing for them. And there's just so much within this whole podcasting world. I could spend literally like a 3-hour podcast talking about it. And so that is going to be the service. I'm going to be able to sit down with people and really try to figure out what's the bigger picture, what are we trying to do, and reverse engineer the steps that we are going to need to take to make that podcast come to life. And there's just so much value within podcasting that I think people are going to realize it and maybe then want to step into it. So I just want this to be understood. All the answers you need to start a podcast are out there. There's no question about that. The only thing you're going to get with consulting with Bobbbaaaay is that I've had experience. I've been doing this for quite some time. I know how to just try. I think I've gotten very good at how to make an experience, how to bring in the right guests, how to put the content out everywhere. YouTube, Spotify, iTunes, putting the content anywhere and everywhere that people can listen to it. Social media clips, Instagram. Once again, what I was talking about earlier, taking a macro piece of content and cutting it up in micro and distributing it everywhere. Super important in the content world that we live in today. And so I've gotten a firm grasp of it. I'm not the expert. I'm not the best podcaster in the world. I'm not number one in the world, but I've definitely learned how to execute it, and that's what I'm good at. And so I want to help brands and people that are serious, that are really seeing the value in podcasting, and they want help. I want to be there. I want to hold your hand and walk you through this process. I want to be that person that you call at 1 a.m. when you don't understand how to make this cover art, or how should we put this out there to the world. Call Bobbbaaaay. That's what I'm here for. 24/7, 365. When you love what you do, you're on clock all the time. And I'm ready for it. I'm ready to work with the go-getters, the people that are real hustlers. This isn't just your typical like Monday through Friday working hours. I'm on 7 days of the week, 24 hours a day. I love what I do. And so I want to be there to help you take this idea of podcasting to life. And so that's just a little glimpse on both things, the podcast and consulting. And then earlier, as we're talking about the brand storytelling, that's the thing. I'm not here to sell it to anybody. I'm just telling you what I have to offer, okay? You pretty much have to see the value in content. That's what it comes down to. People need to really understand the value of content. I'm not going to sit here and cold call and send emails to people saying like, hey, I can come in and help your brand. No, that's not how I'm going to play this game. I will keep shredding the Uber streets and building on my empire and playing the patience game and waiting for people to see the value in what I create to then come to me. Me setting up this podcast consulting and the brand storytelling and actually putting out there to the world, it's really just doing that, right? Like it's just throwing it out there to the world, saying, hey, this is what I'm doing. What I'm willing to offer as 2 different services. If you're interested, please hit me up. And so maybe nobody hits me up right now. 2 months, 3 months, 6 months, great, that's fine. I'm not going to sit here and try selling it to you. Just know, as Bobbbaaaay starts to grow, as I start to really figure out this game of social media content, really start to fine tune where I'm supposed to be in this world and continue to grow everything that I'm doing, that's when people are going to come knocking on my door. And I'm going to be ready for it because I'm going to have all this material laid out, all the different services that I'm going to have to offer. There's going to be more. As I continue to get better at this game, I'm going to keep adding services. So this is supposed to be just a little insight as to what I have going on. I hope it provides you a little bit more explanation of what I'm offering. And if you have any specific questions, please shoot me an email, bobby@purposeintheyouth.com. Or if you have interest in any of the podcast consulting or brand storytelling, just make sure you put in the subject what you're looking to learn more about. And from there, we will talk you through. We'll walk you through and answer any questions you might have before anything happens. And we'll make sure this is all laid out. And once again, for the brand storytelling, that's content that I need to be in person, that we have to come to. Doesn't matter where you are in the world. If you see the value and you really want to make this happen and the budget is there, we will come to you without a question of a doubt. We will come to you and we will make this content work. With the podcast and consulting, much more easier. If you are in the greater LA area, it's very easy for me to get to you. If not, it saves money for both parties. We can do all this via cell phone, Skype calls, FaceTime. If you really want me in person, once again, if the budget's there, I'm willing to fly to places. If the budget is there, I without a doubt will fly anywhere in the world to help you walk through this process. I will hold your hand. I will have a coffee in the other hand. I will hold your hand and I will walk you right down the line and make sure this helps. So that's all I got to say. Any questions, Bobby@purposeintheyouth.com. And shout out to my man, Reese Hopper. He has been a huge help in me getting to where I am today with this being even available and even being packaged and presentable to the world. So my man, Reese, thank you so much for helping me. We're going to build an empire. Ladies, guys, and gals, thank you for tuning in. It's your favorite bearded man, the one, the only, Bobbbaaaay, the bearded man. Let's get it. Hope you guys have a great rest of your day. See ya.